Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely fascinating, a centuries-old financial philosophy that is absolutely brilliant. You know, if you've ever wondered how deeply ingrained cultural habits can just seamlessly transform our everyday lives, and honestly, our bank accounts, this is going to be incredibly eye-opening. We're going to uncover the invisible forces that build lasting wealth.
So think about this paradox for a second. How does a country with one of the oldest populations on the planet maintain one of the highest personal savings rates in the entire world? I mean, in the West, it so often feels like money just slips right through our fingers like sand, right? But the Japanese reality is entirely different. And no, it's not due to pure luck or some incredibly generous government program.
Let's look at the actual data. A landmark three-generation study from Hitotsubashi University, which is one of Asia's most respected economic centers, found something really striking. These families don't build wealth by frantically clipping coupons or living on these restrictive, miserable budgets. Instead, they build it through a collective cultural filter. They've just collectively decided that certain things simply do not deserve their money.
Okay, so where does this filter actually begin? It starts right at the dinner table with everyday habits. The first concept is hara hachibu, which comes from Okinawa. Basically, it translates to eating until you are just 80% full. Now, while this sounds like pure health advice, and to be fair, Okinawa does have a massive concentration of centenarians, it's actually an incredible economic principle, brilliantly disguised as a table habit.
To put the financial impact of this into perspective, it's pretty wild. Researchers at the University of the Ryukyus estimated that families who consistently practice hara hachibu spend between 15 and 20% less on food every single year. And they aren't buying cheaper, lower-quality junk to save a buck. They are simply buying, cooking, and serving less food.
This perfectly highlights a core cultural difference between us. On a typical Western plate, this overflowing abundance is our symbol of hospitality, right? It's our way of saying, hey, I'm doing well. But in traditional Japan, a moderate plate symbolizes wisdom and self-control. Eating to your absolute physical limit is actually seen as a lapse in discipline. It really makes you stop and ask, how much money have we all spent recently cooking way more than we needed, only to throw the leftovers in the trash?
And you know, this whole philosophy totally spills over from the dinner table into social status through a concept called kensen. It basically means humility in action. If you take a walk through a wealthy residential neighborhood in Tokyo, you will routinely see highly successful doctors or business executives living in very modest homes and driving totally practical cars. It is completely devoid of those flashy status symbols.
When you dive into the data from the Bank of Japan, the contrast is just stark. Compared to high-income households in the US or Europe, equivalent earners in Japan spend proportionally far less on visible status goods. And all that money left over from, well, non-spending, it goes straight into their savings and long-term investments.
There's this amazing way to define kensan that I absolutely love: wealth that refuses to make noise. It suggests that buying a luxury item just so other people notice your success is actually a sign of insecurity, not achievement. Real respect comes from character. Just imagine the financial liberation of dropping the pressure to buy designer labels just to impress people who, honestly, probably aren't even paying attention. But wealth isn't just physical stuff, right? It's also about mental space. And that brings us to a beautiful concept called ma. Think of a traditional Japanese tea house. There isn't excessive decoration covering every single inch of the walls. There's a vase, maybe a single flower, and space. Ma is a genuine comfort with silence, with emptiness, and with literally nothing happening. And guess what? Being okay with emptiness directly translates to your wallet. Data from the Japan Consumer Affairs Agency shows significantly lower average spending on endless entertainment streaming, gaming subscriptions, and digital impulse purchases compared to the West. Why? Because so much of our impulse spending is born from a discomfort with emptiness. We buy things to fill a moment of boredom or actually just to fill uncomfortable silence. When you're at peace with emptiness, your bank account definitely thanks you.
Now, obviously, people still need to buy things. But when it comes to the material objects they do choose to bring into their lives, there's monozukuri. It translates to the art of making things, and it represents his deep, almost obsessive cultural reverence for careful craftsmanship. A Japanese kitchen knife forged by a master artisan might cost 10 times more up front than an ordinary knife, but it will last 5 times longer and perform flawlessly with every single use.
It completely shifts the crucial question you ask yourself right before you buy something. While a typical Western consumer might ask, okay, what's the cheapest option? The traditional Japanese question is, what will last a lifetime? Avoiding that relentless cycle of buying cheap, breaking fast, and buying all over again saves a massive amount of money over the years. It's about respecting the object itself and, by extension, respecting your own hard-earned money.
And the long-term reality of this mindset is so clear in the numbers. Studies show that Japanese families replace their household appliances and cookware at exactly half the frequency of American families. Half! They aren't just hoarding cash in a mattress. They are strategically investing in single, much higher quality pieces that are literally engineered to last for decades.
But what happens when things do eventually break? Because they do. Well, enter kintsugi. Legend has it that back in the 15th century, a Japanese shogun sent a broken tea bowl over to China for repair. He was so dissatisfied with the ugly metal staples they used to fix it that Japanese artisans developed a brand new method, repairing the break by actually highlighting the damage with melted gold. They made it even more beautiful than the original.
Fast forward to today, and this philosophy sustains an incredibly robust culture of specialized artisans. Japan maintains a significantly higher number of repair workshops per capita compared to Western countries. A broken object hasn't lost its value, it just needs a little attention. And that is a wildly powerful lesson for your wallet, choosing to repair something before instantly rushing out to replace it.
Now, maintaining this kind of discipline requires a very specific internal mindset, which brings us to gammon. Gammon is the ability to endure discomfort, desire, and hardship with dignity and without complaint. While it's historically been linked to resilience during natural disasters, gammon is also the invisible force governing the everyday relationship the Japanese have with consumer debt and credit.
It creates a huge contrast in how we view money. Instead of the want it now, pay later approach where we split non-essential stuff into endless easy installments, the gammon approach is the exact opposite. You feel the discomfort of wanting something, you let it pass, you wait, and then, if you still want it weeks later, you buy it outright with money you actually have. That waiting builds character and adds immense value to whatever you're finally buying. The economic proof of this mindset is honestly incredible. Bank of Japan data shows that household debt relative to income is among the absolute lowest in the entire G7. In Japanese culture, wanting something and not being able to afford it right that second isn't viewed as this grand injustice that needs to be instantly fixed with a credit card swipe. It's just life.
So, all of these threads seem to pull together into one final brilliant practice, Danshari. Popularized by modern yoga instructor and writer Hideo Yamashita, Danshari is about refusing what isn't necessary, discarding the excess, and really freeing yourself from that heavy attachment to objects. It's not just about organizing a messy closet. It's a spiritual practice of detachment that kicks in long before a purchase is even made. And the financial effect of Danshari is super direct. Research shows a 20% average reduction in impulse purchases over a single year for individuals who regularly organize and discard their things. When you know exactly what you own and you curate it carefully, you become highly aware of what actually deserves to take up physical and mental space in your life.
When you step back and look closely at what all these principles share, a really beautiful pattern emerges. There is absolutely no demand for suffering here. This isn't about living a small, deprived life measured out in pennies and constant guilt. It's about total presence, the complete absence of waste, and deeply valuing what you already possess. It's a life chosen with pure intention.
There's a quote that perfectly reframes everything we've looked at in this explainer today. Japanese abundance doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less and deeply loving the little you choose to keep close. I mean, wow, that completely flips our traditional Western understanding of financial health right on its head, doesn't it? So to wrap things up today, I want you to ask yourself, which of these principles, whether it's Hara-Hachi-Bu, Kensan, Ma, Monozukuru, Gammon, Kintsugi, or Danshari, are you actually already practicing in your own life? And more importantly, which one are you ready to start living today? Think about it and let that invisible wealth philosophy start working for you. Thanks for joining me.